All right. Hi, everyone. Glad to see everyone here. So thank you for joining this month's session of Product PH. So this is our session for May, and we're very glad to have you join us. So before we start, let me just play a short intro so you can learn more about Product PH. All right. All right. So okay, we have Gian. So I'll turn it over to Gian. Take it away, Gian.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another session with Product PH. I hope you're all having a lovely, sweaty week this week. It has been insane. Tropical weather. Give us a break. How about a little bit of rainstorm there for a quick cool down? But if you're joining us today, oh, we're very happy to see you. You could have been anywhere else in the world, but you're here with us. I hope that Jay Z line transitions to someone in the audience, or maybe I'm in the wrong demographic. Oh my, is my age showing? Well, if you're joining us today, we are on Run the World, which is the platform we're using today. You can review the recording after the session is done, and during the Q&A, if you will notice, if you'll take a look at your desktop right now, on the lower left, oh, where is the mic? Oh, on the lower left portion of your screen, the furthermost icon before it gets all colorful, you'll see a microphone icon which you can click on later, and that you to grab the mic, so to speak. It's a video key function. I hope that was what they had in mind. Makes me think, why haven't we used this for video key? John, you need to educate me. Well, you can grab the mic anytime later if you'd like to speak or say something, especially if you'd like to ask questions, because we have a great topic coming in today. We were very lucky to get someone to speak with us today. We have Chiara, who is going to talk about taking your PM career to a new country. Yay! Preferably somewhere that is not 37 degrees Celsius at 7 o'clock in the morning. Ooh, talk about sweaty, guys. Um, but before we start, we want to say hi from Product PH. Our vision is for world-class products to be built in the Philippines, and we're providing an open space for people who's interested in building great products. Before you get to build great products, we need great product managers, and I hope that's some of the takeaways you're getting from joining us in our session. This is about I think, our third show. I think the third show in the last few months for this year, and it's been really exciting. We've had a lot of speakers come in talking about their journey becoming a product manager. But speaking of journeys, today we're going to talk about the journey outside of the country, getting into the world stage, so to speak. And the person who's going to help us today, Chiara. Well, well, I don't. I think the best person who can talk about Chiara is Chiara. So before I go into my rabbit hole of random content, let's focus in on what everyone is joining us today, and that is to hear and talk and ask questions to Chiara, who is going to talk about taking your PM career to a new country. So without further ado, I'm going to give the floor to Chiara so she can introduce herself and lead us into that journey or start that journey on how we can find ourselves in a new destination. Okay, well, I'll hand it over to you, Chiara. Thank you so much for joining us today.
All right, thank you so much, Gian. It's a pleasure to be here. Yes, I'm happy to introduce myself, and that is the first thing in the agenda. So I think I will just go ahead and share my screen now. Okay, sharing my screen. Yeah, I have a super short presentation here, but everyone, please, I would really love. I have some stories to share, how I did it, how my students in Gen Propel, which is my company / course helping people find jobs abroad. I'm happy to share a lot of that, but really, I'd love for this to be a super helpful 1 hour for you. I don't want you to just consume content. Please ask questions about your actual job hunt. If you are job hunting or if you have fears or worries, please ask them. I'd love to hear them. Would love to answer them on this call. Put them in the chat or grab the mic later. That is my preamble. All right. Okay. Yeah, taking your PM career to a new country. Here's my short agenda. I want to give a brief intro of my background. Who the heck am I? And then I wanted to share with you how I did it. I called it, so when I was job hunting in Germany, I called it my Hamburg dream job. And I actually compiled statistics and timelines of like my journey. So I will share that with you so you have an idea what it looks like for one person at least. And then I have some tips on landing a product manager job abroad. And then I want to encourage you to take one step if like you're one of those people who are like, this is really interesting, but there's a lot of uncertainty and fears and so on. I will recommend you to take one step, which we'll discuss later. And then finally, I hope we'll spend a lot of time on Q&A and chat a lot. Would love to hear from you what's interesting, what's concerning, and so on. That is the brief agenda. Cool. So first thing, I want to do a poll. I don't know how to say that. I want to know, I will create a poll now. I can't take other actions while sharing screen, so I need to stop sharing my screen. Yeah, I want to know, where are you in your job hunt abroad? Where are you? And I'm typing now, where are you in your job hunt abroad? Are you in the middle of it? Are you thinking about it? Or are you not really moving abroad and you're just here because you're like curious? All right, I will start the poll now. I'll give you like 30 seconds. Cool. All right, we got 10 votes, 30% in the middle of it, 40% thinking about it. Okay, and more people thinking about it, and 3 people not really moving abroad. Cool, thank you so much. That's really helpful for me to understand where you are. Okay, ending the poll. Back to sharing my screen. All right, my background. So right now I am in Berlin, Germany. It's 15 degrees here, so nice weather. I moved to Germany in 2019. Okay, I'm a product manager in tech. I work for a company called Giant Swarm. I'm also a co-founder at Gen Propel. Gen Propel is like my side business. We teach job hunting abroad, and right now we're going through the first cohort of students. There are 5 students. They're from Brazil, Iran, Malaysia, and they're looking to move to Germany, France, the Netherlands. So really exciting stuff. Yeah, and I was born and raised in Manila in the Philippines. I studied in UP. I graduated in 2012, and that's when I started working. And don't know if you read my bio. I joke that my best skill is job hunting and my worst skill is job staying. So in 9 years of working, I've worked in 5 companies, which is roughly one company every 2 years. And I've worked for companies out of 3 countries, the Philippines, the US, and Germany. So yeah, I have a lot of experience job hunting. Yeah, and I've been working remotely since 2013, so that's another thing that people find interesting. Yeah, I see people saying they can relate, and you too. Nice, love it. Keep the comments coming. All right, that's me. Yeah, so I just wanted to share how I did it. So what it looked like for me, I was in the Philippines. I was working remotely for an American company, and I just wanted to try living and working someplace else. And I like look at the world and kind of did a process of elimination. Like Australia, New Zealand was too far from the rest of the world for me. US, I didn't want to deal with Trump. Canada, they have this thing called Canadian experience where they don't care about their international experience. They care about Canadian experience. So it doesn't matter. I just eliminated Canada as well. And anyway, it left me with Europe, and Germany had the strongest economy in Europe, which is why I ended up in Germany. So anyway, that's funny, Canadian experience, how much protein you can eat. Yeah, so I have a system for job hunting. I don't do it, and it's been reliable for me. I don't do it like other people who, I think most people, they apply to a lot and then hope for the best. That is their system. So this is not what I do. So what I do is I have a thing I call Project 100, which is basically I reach out to 100 people. So when I was looking for a job in Germany, what I did was I set a goal. I will reach out to 100 people who could either hire me or who would know someone who knows someone who could hire me. So I reach out to former colleagues, former classmates who are now working in Germany. I look through LinkedIn for every Filipino I could find in Hamburg. I looked at job openings, but instead of applying, I looked up the people who work in those companies and then kind of just connected with them on LinkedIn to get on a call and understand what it's like working in their company and stuff like this. But anyway, I reached out to like about 100 people, and a lot of those were just catch-ups and intros, and many of them didn't really go anywhere, but 8 of them were really interesting to me, and 8 of them were hiring, and 8 of them were willing to hire people from abroad. So I applied to 8 companies. So I only really sent 8 applications. And these are like warm applications, just to be clear. I looked a person up in the company, and then I said, hey, let's do a call. Would love to know you. And then on the call, I talked to them about I'm wanting to move to Germany. What do you think? Blah, blah, blah. And then they said, yeah, actually our company is hiring. Would love for you to apply. So these are the applications that I sent. They're not low touch applications. So anyway, I sent 8 applications. And among those, one just ghosted me. I don't know why. I think it was an intern that was managing the application process, and I don't know. And then I got 4 rejections after the screening call. 2 rejections were typical, or like which is like we're looking for someone more senior, more junior, or whatever. And one was because the HR thought it was an English-speaking job, but apparently they needed someone who was fluent in German. And then one actually loved me, but they had a policy against hiring Filipinos because of previous bad experience. So like side note, aside from the visa stuff, the Philippine government actually makes it difficult move abroad, work abroad, because they require the overseas employment certificate, and it requires the company to prove that they're not hiring you as illegal sex workers or drug mules and stuff like this. And it adds like, for me, it took 1.5 months additional to the visa. But anyway, it takes a long time, and this like is very discouraging for employers. So anyway, I just wanted to give you a heads up on that. Like for me, it took 6 months between offer and actually starting the job. Between the visa and the OEC, like that was 6 months between signing the offer and starting the job. Yeah, anyway, among the 8 applications, I got 3 offers. I accepted one, and that is where I am working right now. So that is what it looked like for me. Happy to answer any questions, anything specific about that later. Yeah, and in terms of what does the application process actually look like, it took me, not application process, job hunt process. It took me 8 weeks, about 2 months. This is, to be fair, this is faster than normal because I'm so used to job hunting. I tell people, typically, if you're prioritizing this, it takes like about 3 months to 6 months, depending on many things, including your level of confidence and communication and stuff like this. But anyway, so it took me 8 weeks. Week 1 was really polishing my LinkedIn and resume and like really just understanding the Germany tech scene because it was new to me, didn't know what were the companies and so on. So that was week 1. And weeks 2 to 4, I started reaching out to people, reconnecting with my people in my network, getting on calls, viewing LinkedIn job ads, stuff like this. And then weeks 3 to 6, my reach outs start to bear fruit. I do a lot of initial interviews. This is usually with either, if it's a big company, with HR, and if it's a smaller company, with the hiring manager, kind of just getting to know you. And then I passed some of the initial interviews. Week 7 and 8 were really kind of all in on 2 specific companies. Week 7, I had a 4-hour interview with like many people in the company. Like the CPO was there, and then the CTO was there, and then some engineer was there, and then some designer was there, other PMs were there. Yeah, it was kind of exhausting, but I prepped like a whole week for that because I wanted to like really look up the people who will be joining the interview and like catch up on some design stuff and engineering stuff. Yeah, and then week 8 was preparing for a hiring presentation to the entire company. So basically, week 7 and 8 were the last steps of these companies' application process. Yeah, so that was what it looked like for me. Bulk of it is like this reach out, as you can see. Yeah. So that was my journey. Checking the time. All right. Cool. Yeah, so I have some tips. That's me. But what about you? How to land a PM job abroad? Yeah, first of all, I wanted to share there are 2 big advantages of being a Filipino product manager. First of all, product management is really hot right now. And even tech and product manager specifically, it's relatively easy for you if you're looking for a job abroad compared to others. For example, I have students who are lawyers. I have students who are who's in consulting, management consulting. It's super competitive. There's not a lot of jobs. What else? Yeah, so it's really, you're in a really fortunate position to be a product manager in tech because there's a lot of openings, even during COVID, I would say. And second thing is your English is great. I don't know if you believe that, but like objectively, your English is great. Like I have students from Iran and Brazil, and I've talked to a few people from Korea. Their English is really terrible. And by terrible, I don't mean they have an accent, which we Filipinos are typically kind of feeling insecure about, but By horrible, I mean not understandable. So they can read and they can listen, but like when they talk, it's just super hard to understand. So yeah, like take heart, even if it's still scary for you and stuff like this. There's a lot of PM jobs and your English is likely great and understandable and you're already ahead of a lot of people. All right. So common mistakes. So at this point, I've talked to a lot of people. Uh, uh, People ask me all the time about how they go about their job hunting. I've done a few talks for MBAs in like France and stuff like this. And here are the common mistakes I really see. So people say like, oh, I've been job hunting for a long time and nothing happens. But if you ask them what are they actually doing, actually they're spending days and even weeks on their CV. Like they just keep tinkering. And they think because in their head, this is part of job hunting. They think they've been spending a long time job hunting, but really they're editing one document for weeks, which nobody sees. So it's obviously nothing will happen because if you're just there editing a piece of paper, nobody knows that you're looking for a job and nobody can hire you. So this is like one big warning not to do that because it's very safe to edit a CV, right? You don't have to talk to anyone, nobody will reject you. So it's really it's a trap to be spending like weeks on your CV. It's important, but don't spend all your time on it. Anyway, second is they spend hours and days filling out applications. So for most people, this is it. This is their job hunting process. They look for job openings and then they apply all day long. That's what they do. And again, nobody ever sees this. They get rejected all day long by computers and websites, and they think, oh no, it's because I have bad experience or I suck and my CV sucks. But this is not true. What's really happening is because before this job, I was actually a hiring manager, and I'll tell you what happens. At least for me, as a hiring manager, when I open a job opening in LinkedIn, within 2 hours, I get like 500 applications. And as a busy hiring manager, I am not looking at those applications for the best people one by one. I just don't have the time. So what I do is I look for keywords. So for example, at that time, I'm thinking, okay, which companies seem like they hire good people? Because if they hire good people, then I would like to hire them too. So I would use keywords like Uber, for example, or McKinsey, or BCG, or Bain, and companies like this. And I just look for those keywords and get like 30 applicants who used to work for those companies, and I archive everyone else. Not because everyone else's experience is bad or it won't work for me, but I just don't have the time to like, look at them one by one by one. So this is what is happening to these people's applications. And it's really, I feel so bad because it's really discouraging. And that's why I have a better way, more effective way. So you're spending less time to get the people's attention. But anyway, that's like a trap. Beware. And then second, finally, I think this comes from the school system, like of honor rolls and GPAs and grades. We try to be better rather than different. So we try to have the highest grades. We try to have the most experience. We try to be the best product manager. And we think like the better we are as a product manager, the more likely it is we could get a job. This is kind of, you do need to be a good product manager, of course. But I think a lot of people here are already pretty good product managers. But this being a better product manager is really, really, really hard to assess from looking at a piece of paper. It's really hard to know yeah, from the outside. Like, think about products, not product managers, like the products you consume. It, like, let's say bottles of water. It's really hard from the outside to know what is the best bottled water among these 20 brands. And so what will make you pick the bottled water for you is not the best bottled water, but like what calls out to you, what's unique, what's different. So the point I'm trying to make is you need to be a good enough product manager. And then after that, it's about, in terms of like standing out and having the hiring manager pay attention to your application, it's about being different and doing different things, not like the rest of those 500 people. Yeah, so the most important ideas, like from these common mistakes, is you need to get out there, not in here, like in my computer editing a piece of paper. Hence, like I'll tell you about Project 100. It's focused on like telling as many people as you can, like announcing to the world that you're available and so on. And then the other important idea I want to say is uh, you you can stand out by being different. You don't have to have the best experience ever in the world. Yeah, happy to answer any questions later. So anyway, so the approach, the approach that I teach is called Project 100, and it's super simple. The idea is you reach out to 100 people and you talk to them. This is the alternative to sending 100 applications and getting rejected by computers. Why? Because it forces you to get out there and be different. By out there, I mean you're talking to people, you're telling them that you're available for a job. You're not just in your room like browsing applications and editing CVs. And also be different because you're not in that pile of 500 people. You're like in their LinkedIn notification. You have a nice message like, hey, John, I saw that you did so and so. I found that really interesting. I saw that you have an opening in so and so. I would be really curious to hear what you think. This is like, as of today, it's like different, and people really like it because like people are really overwhelmed with like these applications, and if you could somehow do something to stand out and give them like a way to notice you, it's really helpful for them. So yeah, reaching out and talking to 100 people, it forces you to get out there and be different. And another reason why I advocate this approach is, so the goal where people get stuck really is they don't get interviews. It's not like they're getting interviews and then they're getting rejected. Usually when they get to the interview stage, it's only a matter of like getting, I don't know, from 3 to 10 interviews, and one of them will convert. It's not that hard converting interviews to offers. Where people get really stuck is getting to the interview stage in the first place. So we really target this part of the funnel. And in terms of getting interviews, getting on calls with people, like just being interested and curious about what they're doing, what it's like in their company, it converts way higher into interviews rather than these cold applications where you're filling out the same form as everyone else. Yeah. And then at this point, people will say, oh, it sounds really good. But where the heck do I find 100 people to talk to? I don't have 100 people in my network who could help me look for a job in a new country. There are many, many ways we could brainstorm at the end of this call. But the three types of people that we found the most effective is three types, and they are in increasing from easiest to hardest. So first thing is people from your home country, in this case, the Philippines, who are now working in your target country. You reach out, these people are super valuable because, well, obviously, if you reach out to a Filipino in some other country, it's very likely they will agree to talk to you. Second, they're already working for a company who hired a Filipino. So you already have one company that has a high likelihood that are willing to hire you because they already done it before. And then third, it's just very encouraging and motivating to talk to someone who's already done it. Like you start to see that, oh, that person seems like a normal person, just like me. And if he or she can do it, I can do it too. Yeah. And then the second type of person is peers, meaning other product managers, if you're like product manager level in companies with open positions. So what you do is, as per usual, you look at companies that are hiring, but instead of directly applying, you look at LinkedIn and look for other product managers in that company and you reach out to them. You ask them what's it like in the company, what does the team look like, blah, 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 like typical quote unquote networking calls. And then towards the end of the call, usually these calls will end in, if the person liked you, they will say, oh, actually, we're hiring product managers. I think you would be a good fit. And many of them, if you do the call right, they will offer to refer you to the hiring manager or at least offer to send your CV to the HR. So this is a really, within like 5 minutes of searching and 15 minutes of talking on the phone, that's not an interview, but just like having fun and meeting a new person, that's a really easy way to convert the call to an interview rather than spending like 10 hours on an application. And then third is number three. Number three is just like number two, but instead of peers, you talk to hiring managers. So like this is what VP product or head of product or CTO, or in small companies, the CEO. Yeah, you network directly with them, and it sounds scary, but it works really well because you're already talking to the decision maker, and it changes the dynamics a lot. Yeah, so I'd love to pause here and show you what this actually look like, what this actually looks like. Yeah, I would love for someone in the chat to now I would like to demo how I would do it in LinkedIn. Like, how do I find these people to talk to? Can you share in the chat or grab the mic? Uh, like, what country are you moving to? And I'll right now in this call look for people you could talk to show you what it's like. Put it in the chat or grab the mic. Sweden. Okay, cool. And you're a product manager? Oh, maybe it doesn't matter, but okay. So here's what I would do if I'm a product manager looking for a job in Sweden. Number one, I look for Filipinos in Sweden. So what I like to do, I studied in UP, so that's easier for me. I look for University of the Philippines in quotes. I'm looking for people who studied in UP who are now in Sweden. So I look for University of the Philippines. I filter for people. I filter for location, Sweden. Wow, there are 237 people. That's lovely. So I will look for people who are interesting. And by interesting, I mean they're working. Like I won't reach out to a student. I won't reach out to student. I could even like filter this for product manager specifically since we have a lot of results. Yeah, so this one. So I'll just open a few profiles and look. Yeah, they're in Sweden. And I would just reach out to Dawn and say, hey, Dawn, I am a fellow. I also studied in UP. I see we know like Eliza, who is a professor. I saw that you work for Voi, and I'm moving to Sweden in a few months. Would love to get your advice and hear about how you did it. And then I'll do this for like 5 other people. Yeah, and then I could expand the search by removing the product manager requirement and just talk to people who are in Sweden in general. And then for the looking for peers and hiring managers in companies that are hiring, what I mean is I'll go to LinkedIn jobs, I filter for Sweden, and then I looked at product manager jobs, for example, this one, Qmatic, I've never heard of this, but just to give an illustration. So people typically, they will click this and then they'll apply. But what I will do is I look the company up. I look at the employees, and then maybe I look for other product managers. Product manager. Yeah, so for example, this guy, or maybe a female category manager. Yeah, whatever. This person, or it's Johanna. I will just reach out cold to Johanna and say, "Hi, Johanna. I'm reaching out to you as a product manager at Qmatic. I found like the thing you said about the heart of our business in your bio really compelling. I'm considering applying to Qmatic. Would love to hear from you what it's like working in that company, blah, blah, blah." And that is like you click connect here and send that message. Yeah, so that's a quick demo of what I would do. Is that helpful? Would love for you to paste in the chat, or maybe it's what this emoji means. Okay, then I will just proceed. It's really weird not seeing people's faces. Okay, thanks. All right, I am nearing the end of my talk. Yeah, so aside from really, that's it. Like, that is my approach. You reach out to 100 people, you get on calls with them, and then on the calls, you try to find out if they are hiring or if they know someone who is hiring. And then if it sounds good, you apply. There's a very, very high likelihood that your application will at least be looked at by someone if you do it after talking to someone. That's really it. It's not a secret. You don't have to join my course. You can do this yourself. It will go a long way. Yeah. So, like I mentioned, my company Gen Propel, we teach a course on job hunting abroad. We just got started. Right now, it's a cohort-based course because I really want to help the students. We have students from Iran, India, Malaysia, Brazil, and they are like front-end engineers, lawyers, management consultants. And if I try to boil down what I learned from teaching these students is, yeah, job hunting abroad, it's fucking hard. I think I failed to communicate that to the students. It's not, and it's fucking hard because, especially for the people in Europe or for jobs in Europe, first of all, you need, unless you know the language, you need an English speaking job. So it's like, I don't know what the percentage is, but the supply of jobs is way less than what's available to a local. Second, typically, at least for European companies, or at least in Germany, for example, they prefer not the company, but like the country, like the government. They want companies to hire Germans first, and then in like if they can't hire Germans, EU nationals, and only then if they cannot hire Germans or EU nationals are they kind of allowed to hire non-EU people. So there's radically, it's not as scary as I'm trying to say. Like, promise, many companies, if you show like you're legit, it's really hard to hire in tech right now. The talent pool is very little wherever you go. So really, companies are starving for good people. I promise you that. Even in my company, I won't talk about my company, but we are starving for product people too. Yeah. Anyway, it's fucking hard, and I think my students found the ideas compelling, but the usual, they're like, I didn't have time, and they're kind of hesitant to change their behavior. They're used to just sending applications. Basically, at the end of the day, what's difficult is the behavior change. You can have the best ideas, but if you don't change your behavior, you won't. If you keep doing the same things you're doing, like things you would do in your home country, or if you keep doing the same things that everyone else is doing, then you won't get different results. And I think I just want to say that it's fucking hard just to set your expectations that it's not going to be a walk in the park. And you have to ask yourself in your heart if you're willing to do. It's not even about working more. My approach really takes way less time than normal. But what's hard is changing your behavior and managing your fear. That is what's hard. Yeah, I just wanted to say that. And then just to end on a very practical note for the people who are either in the middle of a job hunt or thinking about it, this is my suggestion for you. Go to LinkedIn, reach out to 10 Filipino product managers in your target country, like I showed you in the previously in the demo. And this is super helpful for three things. One, motivation. Again, talking to someone just like you who's done it, super motivating, more motivating than any article on the internet you can read. And then you get information and advice. If you hear like many people talk about how they did it, that's really quite helpful. And then finally, if you find this person, you're also finding a person who works in a company who's hired someone like you, which is a Filipino product manager. And I even provide you a script here that you can modify to reach out to these people. Yeah, so yeah, I recommend you taking the step to move your job hunt forward if you're kind of feeling stuck right now or like feeling paralyzed by fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, Gen Propel. If you're like curious about my course, you can visit genpropel.com. This is kind of what the course looks like. We have sessions, we have templates, we have a Slack group where we help each other out and keep each other accountable, blah, blah, blah. If you're curious, just go to genpropel.com, enter your email. When we like launch a new cohort, we will email the people who signed up there. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I would love to hear from you now, or GN, if people were sending questions in the comments. It's Q&A time, my favorite time. And if you email me, here's my email. I'm happy to help. If you're curious about the course, go to genpropel.com. And that's it. That's all I had. I hope that was helpful. And
Yeah, a lot. I can never figure out when I'm on mute or not. Oh my God. 2021, get a grip, Ian. So a lot of interesting points from that show. I have a ton of questions, but for the chat, you can put in your questions anytime. We are taking note of it, and I'm just copy pasting it on my notepad. I will get to it as there is some form of math, some sort of science to my madness. Anyway, if it's your first time seeing me here, I am not lying down in my chair. I just have to do this, guys, because this is a gaming chair. This is not bad posture. When I just have to do this, this is a gaming chair, and I don't know if you can see the reflection on the back. My screen is actually on the wall because my cheap ass couldn't afford another laptop. So while the monitor is broken, I have to look up because, and now with the camera, like, and now just sound like a crazy person. But Chiara,
yep.
great stuff, great stuff. Let's get right to it. I want to give a shout out to those who, one of the people from Caliber, Isa. I don't know if you're out there, but I feel like you were taking down a lot of notes when PR was describing a lot of her job seekers. A lot of powerful stuff out there, especially with the whole hiring approach with the keywords. That's very fascinating. But let's focus on that later. I want to focus on you, Yara.
Mhm.
Let's talk about this. You've been working outside of the country since 2013. Have you always set that goal to work outside of the country? And if so, why was that on your list? Like, what was your motivator to say, "Oh, I don't want to work. I don't want to work in 37 degrees of tropical hell. Like, I want to get out to 17 degrees." I want to know about that. I want to know about
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. So to be clear, I only started working in a different country in 2019 when I moved to Germany. In 2013, I started working for U.S. companies from the Philippines remotely. Um, and the reason, and the question is, has it always been a goal? Two things. Yes, I've always wanted to try working and living in another country, just out of curiosity sake. Uh, I mean, why not? What else is there in life other than like
that. Fair
exploring the
enough.
world?
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Second thing, the first job I had was in a management consulting firm. It's called Mitchell Madison Group. Uh, so they hire like honors graduates from UP and Ateneo, and they send us to the US and bill us to the client. So they paid as fresh grads in 2012. They paid us like $1,000, which is like quite a lot for in 2012 for a fresh grad. It's like 40,000 pesos. And then they billed us to the client. I don't know how much, but at least 5K or 10K dollars. So I'm like, well, if I'm
Oh
worth this
my!
much, let me
What?
let me cut out the middleman and do this for myself.
Oh
So
my
so
God!
that was the impetus for working for US companies. And during the whole time, 2013 to 2019, uh, I worked for US companies and I really negotiated hard to work for midpoint of Philippines and US salaries.
Mm, I
So
love
like
it.
I really wanted to take advantage of the arbitrage. So that's my motivation.
I love it. I love it. That's a premium motivator. Chat. Feel free to send in your emojis because those dollar signs just really bring up my interest level like way up. That being said, oh man, we this could go on forever. I'm trying to stay focused. So cutting out the middleman. That being said, when you're and we'll get back to the whole process of applying it. So when you're applying to jobs and you get to the offer stage, um, you said you're looking for that middle ground of what the Philippines rate is versus that country. Where are you getting some of your comparison? Like, what's a good place? Is it a quick Google search to say, "Oh, how am I worth in the Philippines?" Product managers, how much should they be paying me? What is a good resource uh, uh, for job seekers in general to know that they're pricing they're not undervaluing. Okay, let me replace that. Undervaluing themselves when they're applying the job.
Yeah, it's a complicated question and I have an answer, but it's disappointing. I have no secret website that lists
Mm,
everyone's salaries everywhere in the world. That's the first
okay,
thing.
okay.
Second, of course, the easiest way is just to Google. Like, for example, I was working for a company based in New York, and I don't have concrete data, but from friends I've talked to, it's like easily 8K, 10K per month, my role. And it's in the US, of course, in New York. Uh, yeah, it's just for me, it was talking to friends. And then like having a rough, I said, okay, 8K, 10K, like if I'm good at my job, and I was, and I suspect the people here are too, if the alternative is hiring someone in New York for 8K, I think hiring me for 5K is super cheap. Uh, yeah, so that's kind of how I was thinking. And honestly, I'm super transparent in salaries. Like I was earning like 3K per month, which is like 150,000 pesos in the Philippines in 2017. Uh, Yeah. Yeah. So basically, the answer to your question is yeah, just Google talking to friends. Although I would like to say in Gen Propel, this is really my dream, transparent salaries to really like have the people in the community talk about salaries because, and I really encourage everyone here in this call to be transparent with your salaries with your friends because when you hide your salary, you're not doing anything. You're helping the company rather than you and your friends. That's what you're doing because whoever has the most information wins the
Right.
negotiation. So company has so much info on you, on other applicants, what everyone else is making, whereas you're like you only know what you're making and that's it. So concrete tip, transparently talk about salaries with your friends.
I love that. I love that. Oh my chat, I'm having trouble focusing here. So many things I want to talk about. Don't start posting your salary in the chat right now. Take it. Talk to friends first. Talk to friends first. So much we want to unpack for that. Okay. Gotta stay focused. Let's stick to the questions though. But we'll keep it related. Um, so you mentioned that when you were a hiring manager, you really focused on a lot of keywords, and maybe I'm I'm diverging into um, 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 job seeker applications and product specific. But how much investment should our should a job seeker be looking into for putting in the right words for them to get surface when they're applying to jobs? Is that a big of a deal when applying abroad? Because I know that having a label from graduating from the Big Four and searching for the companies draws a lot of eyes to your application. Um, are there how much time should a job seeker
Zero.
investing? Oh,
Yeah. Okay, this is just me. But I don't
no,
recommend
yeah.
this keyword game for people.
Okay,
I really don't.
true.
You're not gonna win that game. Maybe you can, but if you look at the statistics, like of just like the people applying, you're one out of like whatever the denominator is. It's just very low likelihood. You're not gonna win a keywords game. My approach is the reach out game. You
Exactly,
you be more personal.
exactly.
Get a chance to show your personality to either the hiring manager or a peer. That's my approach. It's the shortest, most effective way. It's the scarier way too, but
I love it. Speaking of scary, let's dive straight into that. Again, Isa, take those notes for Caliber, best job seeking app in the universe. Anyway, uh, so uh, uh, so the approach, and I'm fascinated by that. Just connecting. You went through your LinkedIn profile, and it, network is your net worth. But you linked it when your LinkedIn profile, and it seems like the best way to find traction in one of these companies is to reach out to someone who's working there. That being said, um, that sounds absolutely terrifying. Just randomly starting a conversation with a stranger, say, "Oh, hello, you are a Filipino, and so am I. I want to find a job there." It feels like this is something that just gets better with practice. Like you just gotta do it. Is
absolutely.
that the secret? Okay.
Absolutely. That's why, the three types of people I recommend. I recommend starting with Filipinos, and
Mm,
that's exactly for this purpose to get practice. To
mm,
at first, like the first three, you're just gonna be terrified. Just accept it. It's gonna be scary. Do it anyway, and start with safe ones like Filipinos, because I mean I think it's easier to connect with a fellow Filipino, right? And then you'll see once you do one or two or three that it's not that scary. The worst thing that can happen is someone ignores you, and that's what's happening anyway if you send an application and nobody
oh,
cares.
too close to heart. Yeah, but that makes a lot of sense. I mean, what's the difference between them ignoring your LinkedIn message versus your LinkedIn profile? You don't know these people, right? But yeah, that's a very good point. Now when you actually say it, when you actually say it that way, oh, that makes a lot more sense. After reaching out to the Filipinos, you get a Filipino, get another Filipino, they make another Filipino. After that, is it important to understand cultural differences when you're trying to approach people from other countries? Are there is it important to invest on understanding some of these nuances that, oh, if I apply to someone in the United States, they tend to be more free flowing, fast talking, blah blah blah, get to the point. If I go to a particular country, the more structured I want. Oh, answer this one, two, three, four, five. Is that a thing, or is that a sort of imagined perception because they're from a different country? Is that an imagined fear, or is that a thing?
That's a good question. I would say it is a thing, but it's not that important of a thing.
Mm,
Like, for example, one of my students is a lawyer. She's from Brazil. And she's like, oh, but lawyers, they're not like this casual. I can't just say hi to them. And they're like the chief legal counsel or whatever. I cannot just be casual, blah, blah, blah. And I said, I don't know. I don't know specifically. And do you really want to spend like a whole month studying this culture? So what I recommend is you just try it and see what happens. And for her, like by her like fifth, sixth person, she's like, it's like almost, hey homie, why you don't have a legal gun? That is too much, but she found that it's not that big of a deal. I think what I would say people invest their time in is not on like cultural differences, but person specific. The most important thing is you study this person's profile, and for the next 15 minutes make this person the most important person in your life. You look at where they studied, where their jobs, what like was their life when they're moving jobs, and like really try to make your message and your calls personal to this person more than the cultural differences of like the country they're from. Is you tailor your communications to the person. That's
mm.
what's effective and important for me.
Okay, okay. Any
But by the way, I just wanted to say, in On Frontiers, my previous job, uh, we connected clients with experts from all over the world. So it doesn't matter, but the point is, part of my job and my team's job is to reach out to experts from everywhere. By everywhere, I mean everywhere: Kenya, Nigeria, Tanzania, Philippines, Singapore, Indonesia, even North Korea.
mm,
We use the same templates but modify them for the person, and it works for every country. I think I've connected to at least one person in every country. So yeah, personalized for the person.
okay, okay, that makes sense. One quick note though, I just got notified that my audio is coming in weak. Are you hearing me fine, Jared?
It's a bit, the volume is pretty low. I can hear you, but
Oh,
it's
all
pretty
right.
low.
Oh my, this might be surprising to our guests because I'm usually the loud one. Okay, my laugh seems to be registering pretty well. Okay, I'm just gonna hold it close to me. I mean, I don't run the risk of sounding like the crazy person because my camera's already shaking. I'm looking up, so that shouldn't be a big thing. Okay, okay. Let's continue though. Let's continue. It's really about investing on knowing the person you are talking to, so you find at least some connection, right? Because, well, for all intents and purposes, you are a stranger, and a lot of crazy people out there. I'm one of them. But it might seem very weird for someone to suddenly reach out to you. But chat, that's a very good point. Yeah, I think really taking the time to um, see if there are items you can talk about or points of interest you can talk about on their profile really helps a lot. Speaking of profile, Kiara, one question that has come up on the chat talking about job profile. How are you answering the question on short stays? Because you mentioned this very early on the show as well. Your specialty is job mobility, job finding. Job finding is your specialty. Job staying, not so much. Not so much. Not so much. Okay. How do you answer some of these questions? When these companies that you're meeting with, is that a big thing? Is that a big deal? Or when connecting with foreign companies?
Yeah, the follow-up question is great. Is that a big deal? In my experience, it hasn't been a big deal. And it also depends.
Mm,
It's not like I have like 10 one-month jobs. It's not like that.
mm,
Uh, so first job, I worked 1 year. Second job, 1.5 years. Third job, 4 months. That was really the only job where I'm like, I can't stay here. Then the next job is 3 years. And now Giant Swarm, I'm like almost 2 years. In my case, nobody ever really asked me about these stays. I think it's not that big of a deal, especially if you're coming from a position of power. So if you're
mm.
now we'll like go into the psychology
Oh,
of it.
yeah. Let's
So
go. I love that. Okay.
one of the things that happens when you reach out to a person is you're coming in from a position of power. You're not a job seeker begging to be considered among 500 people. You're a person, you're a professional reaching out to another professional. You're trying to consider if it's worth joining their company. And they're
Oh.
kind of in selling mode. They're like, this super legit person, he knows how it works. She knows how it works. And I need to sell the company. It's not, they're like in selling mode rather than buying this at work. But anyway, it and it's not, I think it's not that big of a deal. If you have like 10 1 month stints, then maybe uh, I'm not an I can brainstorm ways to answer that for you, but right now I don't have experience with that super short stays. But for like up 1 year above uh, work, it hasn't been a big deal for me.
Mm, okay. Oh wait, I figured it out. Is it louder now?
No.
No, is it the same? Oh my, what is happening? Okay, okay. So short stays, not that big of a deal. Not that big of a deal. Got it. It's really more of you considering if you even want to join their company. That's what reaching out creates. Versus when you're applying. That makes sense. Oh, I love that. I love that. Okay, okay. Um, hmm. So you're applying to jobs, you're reaching out to them, you eventually get to get to those interviews, right? Um, that being said, how much of the job market right now in the overseas is open to sponsoring for Filipinos who work in their country, or is it more of a work from home deal right now? And I say this because one, pandemic, obviously, uh, very difficult to get out of the country. Second, the government just thinks everybody's a sex worker. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. You're a drug mule. You're a sex worker. Thank you for protecting us, Philippines. I just want to get dollars. I just want to get dollars. And then third, because it's work from home, uh, is it easier now to 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 find employment with outside jobs because of the work from home paradigm, or are they still looking to, oh, Filipino, please come to our country and work over here because we want you to be working here with us.
Yeah, so I think we're talking about two things. Number one is getting a job remotely, correct?
Right.
The second is like actually someone sponsoring your visa. So job hunting is hard, period. And because of the pandemic, some companies, I think overall it reduced the number of jobs available, right? But I think for remote working, there's a lot more remote jobs available now because of the pandemic. Uh, in terms of companies sponsoring others to go move, I think it's less. I don't have any numbers. I wish I did. That's like one of my dreams. When in starting this company, I want to geek out on this cross-border stuff and blah blah blah. I don't have it yet. It's less, let's say that. But my point is, why does the total volume of jobs matter to you? You only need one job.
Mm.
So that's my message to people. Like that's hence my focus on being different, not better. You only need one job. So if you really wanted to, as long as there are companies hiring, there's opportunity for you.
Mm. Wow. I like that. You only need one job. Huh. Okay. Well, I guess that question really comes from existing bias that a lot of us seem to be having, especially for people who haven't had experiences finding a job outside of the country. There's this perception that because securing a job locally sounds sounds very challenging. Um, just adding that variable that you now have to apply to a foreign company, not a Filipino, maybe has a different culture, would be even more challenging. That's why a lot of people tend to look at the numbers. What are my chances of winning? What are my chances? But it looks and you've spoken very strongly about this. It's really about making that difference, creating that difference or value for yourself, because you only really want one job, right? Oh, very, very okay.
Yeah. And the reason people have to apply to so many jobs anyway is because they don't have a system. They're just like
Mm,
apply, 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 never pause to think, why aren't my applications coming through?
mm.
So it's like in the Philippines, I send 50 applications, I get zero. Let me 10 times that and still get zero.
Because 50 and zero, it's very hard to turn around from that. But I totally get your point. I totally get your point. Right. You only need one job. You only need one job. When you were talking about your system and what the turnout was, it looked like there were three offers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's just say best scenario that also happens to some of our viewers or people on the chat. Um, when you're faced with that decision, you find three offers in front of you. Like, what is your decision making process? Let's just say, and I'm just basing this off how the companies match your criteria. These were eight companies you liked. These are eight companies that were hiring. You get those three companies. All three of them want you to join your team, and this is just in parallel to finding a job abroad. What is your decision making process? Because I don't know. Maybe you have an Excel file where you rate the companies. Because some people do that. Not me. Maybe me. But what is your decision making process? In saying, oh, the three companies that I really like both offered to me, and I like them all. Where do I go?
Yeah, I would say my decision making process in the Germany job hunt. I had to modify it a bit than my usual one. So the usual one, it depends on what is important to you right now in your career. And I have a framework for thinking about like career.
Right.
There are 4 things that matter. One, okay, here are the 4 elements. One is capacity. This is your ability to make things happen. This includes everything like skills, productivity, communication, social skills, blah, blah, blah. That's capacity. Second is network. This is like the people you know, the people who know you, who's going to be your boss, who's going to be your colleagues. Third is assets. This is like cold hard cash. What is the salary? Fourth is signal, which is your CV. What will joining this company look like for you? Are you looking for a like job title? Blah blah blah.
This is brand value. It sounds like brand value.
Yeah, exactly. And depending on where you are, I would like tweak those 4 criteria. For example, when I want like 3 years ago, I wanted to try a leadership role. I was looking for like managerial roles. So I was optimizing for that, like opportunity signal, opportunity to have like managerial title, capacity, opportunity to manage people, money, always nice, but not super priority. And then network, also nice, but not super priority. There's no like super strict here's the formula, but it's just helpful for me to think of those 4 elements and what each company brings to the table. 4 elements, what am I looking to optimize for right now, and how do the companies match those 4 elements? Does that make sense?
Well, yeah. It kind of sounded like there was a rating table.
Yeah, you can assign numbers. But in the Germany job hunt, I was like looking for ultra specific. I wanted to stay remote for various reasons. I wanted to work remotely.
Okay.
And it's not a thing in Germany to work remotely. So like that was really the deciding criteria for me. Like I didn't want a job in Hamburg. If I could, I wanted to have a remote job. So that really clinched the job for me.
Fair enough. Okay. So let's take it the next step in the journey. I've applied. I talked. I found the job. Got the offer. I started. How has your experience been so far working in a different country? How is the interaction with your teammates different? I believe I saw a question in that. Is encountering inappropriate racist behavior in coworkers something in the audience need to worry about? It looks like it's a constant fear. Not because it's a different country, but even when working locally, just joining a new group, there are pre-existing cliques there. There are friends of group of friends. Is working abroad, does that multiply that variable further, because not only are a new member of the team organization, they don't know you, but kablamo, you're Filipino, they are not. Does that come into play?
Yeah, in some ways, I feel like the least qualified person to answer this because I've been working remotely since 2013 and I've been working with international people since 2013. And I have like honestly very short experience working in a Filipino company. And to be honest, the Filipinos were super racist. Like we had like Americans in the company and the Filipinos spoke Filipino all the time. So for me personally, it hasn't been an issue. And from the other Filipinos I know, they usually work in international companies. So it's not like one Filipino, everyone else German. It's more like everyone's from a different country. It's more like that. So I don't think racism is a thing, although some Filipino friends say they're fun. They're just funnier in Filipino, so they have to adjust. I guess they're not as funny in English than in Filipino, so it's been an
Oh,
adjustment.
thank you. The jokes don't translate. I'm just don't translate. There's a I don't know. I don't know. It's just some jokes are just funnier.
Yeah, and
But okay.
some people, they're like, these white people, they're so dada ng dada. Whereas
True.
Filipinos were more like, oh, we're just gonna do the work, and that's been an adjustment that people have needed to do as well. Communicating the work in addition to doing it. Does that make sense? Like they constantly have to communicate what they're working on and what it's for, rather
Oh
than
my
like
God. Yeah,
do
yeah, yeah,
do do.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you. Thank you for saying that. I got lost for a second there, but yeah, I am fascinated by how much back and forth email has to happen, and the constant updates, and the worksheets, and the Word documents. It boggles my mind. It boggles my mind. This is why companies or project management tools make a lot of money because people just want to update people about what's happening. Okay. Yeah, oh, yeah. It's very interesting. Versus when you work with other Filipinos, you meet on day one, and you meet on day 205. Oh, everything's finished. Oh, thank you. Yay. Then you you have pizza to celebrate the launch of the project because that's it. We talk. We don't need to talk again. All the talking, all the talking. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. So there will be some adjustments, but I think that also, but I think that applies to just companies in general, right? Maybe um, there may be other companies that will have that style, but I totally get your point. What is up with all these updates? I don't need to know everything that you're doing. Okay, okay. Updates, on a job, Germany. Okay, okay. Um, so when you were and when you've been working with foreign companies, um, you're working abroad. Well, let's talk about Chiara. Um, what made you decide to say, oh, well, aside from cutting the middleman, what made you to decide to, oh, okay, I'm gonna work abroad, but I'm gonna start my own thing. I'm gonna start my own thing. Let's just cut all the middleman right now. It's just me.
You're talking about Gen Propel?
Absolutely, I'm talking about Gen Propel.
Yeah. Well, I really consider myself an entrepreneur, always. I mean, since 2013. Actually, 2013 was a really important time in my life. I tried to do self-employed marketing consultant. That's really when I started working internationally. I tried to get American clients while being a consultant. Uh, Failed horribly. I was so poor that year. I like earned $1,000 in one whole year or something like that. Uh, but that's when I learned everything: networking, marketing, sales, entrepreneurship. Uh, all this to say, I've always considered myself an entrepreneur. And after 2013, which was super painful, I realized how much I didn't know. I didn't even know how to work. Like, because I had no schedule, anything goes, I could work wherever, whenever. I did nothing. I'm like, all day I was just reading books, reading blogs. I didn't even know how to work. So I said, okay, I'm an entrepreneur, but there's so much I need to learn. So my career was really, it's not really product. I'm just always looking for like, what do I need to learn that helps future me as an entrepreneur? Uh, what should I do now such that future me, who's an entrepreneur, will be happy that I did because I got the skills, the network, and the experience. It doesn't say anything about why now, but I've just always known that I'm gonna do it. It's just a matter of when.
Oh, okay, okay, yeah. Well, at least from our conversation, from the very start, it sounds like there's just this goal. Like, there's just the goal, there's the vision, and a lot of the steps that you've been taking from applications, from the jobs that you've been taking, from the companies that you've been picking, all are they're just working to get you closer to that goal. So when you reach that milestone or that goalpost, you say, "Okay, yay! Now I'm ready. Now I'm ready. I have the resume. I have the network. I have the net worth. I'm ready. Let's go. Let's make this happen. I'm an entrepreneur." Okay, I love that. Okay, just checking if we're seeing any more questions on the chat. I don't see any new questions. I have a ton of questions, but it is 8:22. Give me a quick second, Chiara. Let me just check with the team, see if we still have time. I believe we have an hour and 30 minutes. Okay. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. I've got the notification. Gian, you're talking too much. But I'm physically restraining myself from asking more questions. Chat, you have no idea. You have no idea. So just a quick story before this show. We usually meet up with our speakers. I met up with Chiara early this afternoon, and I will kid you not, this show almost didn't happen because I wanted to do the interview already at 4:30. I'm sorry. I'm so upset. But yeah. Well, sadly, we it looks like we have to wrap. But I have a ton of questions. We'd actually love to have you back again, Chiara. There's a oh my yeah. There's just a ton of other questions we wanna ask you. But while we're sticking around, everyone else is sticking around. Please join us. I believe we're taking a group fee. We need a better
Yay!
group fee. We were taking a group fee. It should be group fee. I don't know. Oh, let's take a group fee and let's go. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Oh, look, there's the notification. They need to do a better job. Yeah, that's weird. But okay, okay, go selfie. Just take a photo. Okay, take a photo.
Okay.
Yay! Okay, everyone on chat, click on the take a selfie and the Run the World platform will put together all the photos and create one groupie or group feed. God, we need a better name for that. Oh no, is my internet loading? Oh, four people finished selfie. Let's see more photos. Let's see more photos. Chat. Okay. While you're taking a photo, please keep in mind that you can reach out to Chiara directly. She'd love to hear more from you, get into more conversation. You talk about her company and all the great stuff, all the great things that her team does. Actually, I believe we had that link over in the chat a second ago. But if you're following us on Facebook or LinkedIn, we're going to put in all the ways that you can reach and connect with Chiara because I know I'm keeping myself from asking more questions. But follow us on Facebook and LinkedIn, and we will share all the ways that you can connect with Chiara. You can talk more about her, ask her more questions, and get you interested in all the great work that she and her team are doing. So I believe that's it for today. The final group fee is ready. This has been a talk on leveling up, taking your PM career to a new country, and also why does the Philippine government think that everyone who wants to go abroad is a sex worker? That's a different topic. Watch out for the shout out. Thank you again, everyone, for joining us today. Thank you, Product PH. Thank you, Gen Propel. Thank you, Chiara. If you're job hunting in a new country, we will teach you how. The link is now on the screen. Connect with us. Connect with Chiara. Chiara directly. She's on LinkedIn. And just quick type Chiara. She's in UP. You saw it on the demo. Very easy to find her. But again, this has been Product PH. Thank you, everyone. And again, thank you, Chiara. You have been absolutely amazing. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I really appreciate your time and attention.
Okay, well, it's been a great Thursday night. Hope you enjoyed the rest of your week. And stay hydrated, people. It is scorching out there. It's 38 degrees. It's insane. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.
All right. See you.